Presidential campaigns are always full of drama and chaos, political theater. But it's usually a controlled chaos, carefully scripted by party officials. This campaign has been far different, with Republican Party officials watching as an unpredictable reality star and businessman took over their party through a path paved by policies that defy typical conservative positions and using violent and divisive rhetoric.
Everything's political correct. I mean, you watch what you say something a little bit off, you end up with headlines. It's like a bunch of dumb babies. Go build a wall, don't worry about it. We'll build a wall. The country's going to hell, we have to do something about it.
As Republicans prepared to name Donald Trump as their nominee for President of the United States, fault lines traveled to the Republican National Convention in Cleveland to look at how Trump got here.
Trumpism is not a new phenomenon. It has been here for a really long time. He's probably just the best salesman for that particular product.
And ask what it means, not just for the GOP,
The Republican Party is imploding.
but for the country.
This is the moment. I mean, things are changing in this country.
As the convention began, tensions were high, not just on the streets, but within the Republican Party.
Convention week is generally a celebration of the party's candidate, but here in Cleveland, some Republicans are still questioning if Trump is what the Republican Party is supposed to stand for.
To me, and what a lot of the delegates and people we've talked to, that this is the true fight for the heart and soul of the Republican Party. This is about a power grab by the RNC to shut down the delegates.
Just a few blocks away from the convention, Republican delegates from various states were organizing together, trying to find a way to not vote for Trump during the convention so they could, as they said, vote their conscience.
This is a very tough road to go to, but we can get there. But unless we have the signatures, we can't make anything happen.
If they could get enough signatures from 7 states, they'd be able to force a roll call vote on the floor of the convention so that delegates wouldn't be bound to vote for Trump.
Print off as many as you need.
Which delegation, if any, has the ability to get us the signatures tomorrow morning? To Uber them to us, to take a taxi, to drive, I mean, in some way to...
I have a car. I can bring, if I can get them in Washington, I can bring them here.
Okay. You got to get it to us.
Nothing will happen if these signatures are not in my hands at 11 o'clock tomorrow.
The delegates were largely from the most conservative wing of the Republican Party and had been some of the most vocal opponents of Trump, far more vocal than the Republican leaders who want the party unified behind Trump.
He's not a Republican, and that's the key. People ask me, they say, well, would you be doing this if it was any of the other candidates? And the answer is no, because they actually reflect our platform, they reflect our value system, and they maintain a respect to the integrity of our party and what it means to be a Republican. He does not. He has come in and he's crashed our house, and he has decided to systemically change our party, and rather than have the value system that's reflected in our party, he's just going to gut it and change it, and it's going to become what he wants the party to be.
What values is it that Trump has that you think are not conservative?
Whether he's a conservative or not, who, in my opinion, who even knows, because he changes his stripes every single day, right? But to me, it's also greater than the policy. It's about who he is as an individual. He has set the tone in this country. He says vitriol is okay, violence is okay, all of this stuff is okay. And listen, I use my son as the litmus test, right? And when my son looks at me and says, Dad, you know, how can this man represent us? How can this man be the nominee of the Republican Party? I say, I agree with you. Donald Trump is not the type of human being that can be in the bully pulpit in the White House, who can lead this country. He's a divider, not a unifier, and we have to do everything in our power to keep that from happening.
And that's what they're about to try to do. If they could get a roll call vote on the rules of the party and then have those rules voted down, that would open up the possibility of being able to vote for whoever they want and not Trump.
You know what, it has been the craziest month of my life.
As the convention kicked off, they had the signatures they needed, but even up to the last minute, they were whipping votes, trying to make sure that they kept the delegates they had won over.
They're trying to figure out a way to shut us down, is what they're doing right now, because we've done everything proper by procedure. We submitted the 10 states with the majority of all the delegates. We only need 7. We went overkill and did 10.
All they needed was to be called on, and then they could put their proposal forward. But that didn't happen.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the resolution is agreed to. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
There was no roll call vote. They were ignored from the stage. They've already left. They left without listening to the delegates and make sure the mics were off.
Mr. Chairman, I call for a roll call vote. Mr. Chairman! Mr. Chairman! Making a motion.
Really startling. This should be a very, very boring, lightly attended affair that no one pays attention to with this kind of rules. And instead, this is a fractured party in full revolt.
As chaos started to break out, the chair was forced to come back on stage.
The chair recognizes the delegate from Utah.
My name is Phil Wright. I am the chair of the Utah delegation. I make a motion that we have a roll call vote on the rules.
The secretary received requests from a total of 9 states requesting a roll call vote on adoption of report on the Committee on Rules. Subsequently, the secretary received withdrawals, which caused 3 states to fall below the threshold required under the rules.
They have the signatures. They turned in 10 states, but somehow they negated several of those states, so now they say they're under the 7-state
the
threshold.
chair has found insufficient support for the request for a record vote.
That essentially crushed the last effort by Kendall and other delegates to stop Trump from becoming the party's nominee.
All I can tell you is what the Republican Party has done. If he wanted to unify the party, he's gone 180 degrees the other direction.
And what does this mean for the Republican Party moving into the general election?
I think that you're going to see an impact from what happened tonight.
Trump isn't a traditional Republican by any measure, and won over many voters by criticizing free trade deals that have sent jobs overseas, and not talking much about traditional conservative values, something that would normally have filled the halls here.
You vote to stop abortion, but you receive a capital gains tax cut, you know? That's the Republican Party. What happened was that finally you got, a candidate who comes along and it says to these very same voters, how about we talk about trade issues and unemployment and, the destruction of the economy where you live.
He's telling people, because I'm rich, I know how the system works, so I can tell you how you've been suckered. It's a kind of billionaire populism that is at its heart contradictory. But it has sold amazingly well.
We believe in a free society. We're aspiration and
over the past few years, the party has steadily moved further and further to the right, largely because of the Tea Party movement. But at the convention, it felt like the party had taken a turn and gone off into an unknown direction.
Only with Donald Trump and Mike Pence do we have a chance at a better way.
Republicans have largely fallen in line to support Trump just so that they can beat Hillary Clinton.
What do you say that we unify this party at this crucial moment when unity is everything?
We have someone who's going to be better than Hillary. We have someone who's going to make America safe again. We have someone, well, science says it best. America deserves better than Hillary.
With many senior and prominent Republicans absent from the convention, it was left to the party leaders to show that everyone was behind their nominee, especially after the chaos of the floor vote.
Senator Ted Cruz of Texas.
A speech from Texas Senator and Tea Party favorite Ted Cruz, who ran against Trump in the primaries, was supposed to seal the deal.
He comes out on stage, there's an ovation for this guy. He's extremely popular. And he launches into his speech, and it's classic, standard issue Republican pablum. In years past, this is the kind of thing that people would look at Ted Cruz and be like, what an orator. You know, what a fine statesman.
But as Cruz neared the end of his speech, it became clear that he was going to do the unthinkable, not endorse Trump.
Stand and speak and vote your conscience. Vote for candidates up and down the ticket who you trust and to be faithful to the Constitution.
And then in one moment, their screams of disapproval turned to cheers of applause as Trump emerged from the shadows and literally took the spotlight from Ted Cruz.
When people want to date the sort of end of the Republican Party, they're going to look back at that speech. Trump may well lose this fall, in which case the traditional Republican hierarchs will take control again, and they'll have their party back, and the scourge of Trump will have been removed or something. Oh, maybe. I mean, who knows? But maybe this is a turning point. And if this is a turning point in the history of the Republican Party, that's the moment.
For establishment Republicans, signing up for an alliance with Trump has at least meant maybe they'll get the White House back. But it's not just the GOP that has helped Trump get as far as he has. And the Republican Party is not the only thing the New Yorker has taken over.
The media has become Trump land, occupied territory. Trump is a master manipulator. The media has let themselves be used. Trump has increased the media's profits. The only one this alliance doesn't work for, the only entity, the only organization, well, it's the country.
I love the media. They're so honest. They're such honorable people. It's about time I said that, right?
Every time Trump appears, whether it's at a press conference or just through his latest tweet, every move and statement blankets the airwaves.
He was piped in for free to everyone's homes. I mean, I think he had $1 billion at least worth of free advertising. There were studies done, you know, in 2015. ABC World News Tonight, for the year 2015, Donald Trump had 81 minutes. Bernie Sanders, I think, had 20 seconds. Is it any wonder what happened?
25 votes for the next president of the United States and New York's favorite son, Donald J. Trump.
Looking around at the convention, the starkest thing, aside from the fact they were about to anoint Donald Trump as the leader of their party, was the demographics. After they lost the 2012 presidential election, the Republican Party acknowledged they would lose again if they didn't do more to appeal to non-white voters. Trump has done the opposite, though, and instead is focused on appealing to working-class white voters, telling them that he will make America great again.
Donald J. Trump!
If you want to look on the bright side, if you want to give Trump the benefit of the doubt, which I don't know why you do, but if you, so let's say you wanted to do that, he's talking about when there was, when blue-collar people made more money. That's just reactionary sort of nostalgia. You know, it was good once, and now it's worse.
36 votes for the next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Long before Donald Trump emerged, there's been this narrative in conservative politics about the great American decline. They kind of mythologize this earlier version of America. They tend to gloss over lots of other things that people of color or groups that were, subject to Jim Crow or refused the right to vote or any of those things know that these time periods were not ideal. But if you were able to be a white person who could earn a moderate income and not have to worry about competing with someone who didn't look like you, in 2016, I suppose that does look good.
Just a few blocks from the convention, Trump's supporters gathered to celebrate his nomination.
Let's make America great again!
Here was Trump's message on immigration, making America safe again by building a wall on the border with Mexico to keep immigrants out that resonated the most.
Who wants to keep America safe? I do. And you know how we do that?
We secure our border. We build the wall.
Trump's message on immigration has been supported by other politicians, including his former competitor, Ted Cruz.
I, for one, am ready to mix the mortar.
Others have been adopting it too, like Kelly Ward, who's running for the Senate in Arizona against longtime Republican Senator and former presidential nominee, John McCain.
Did anybody look back to see what he called Barack Obama? He made sure we did not call him Barack Hussein Obama. He did make sure of that. But I think he saves the vitriol for conservatives. And guess what? This time, we are going to take him down.
This is right-wing populism, not left-wing populism. There was another version of this on the table, lest we forget, the Bernie Sanders iteration, which is a lot more healthy. The Democrats suppressed that with everything they had. But the way things are shaping up right now, you've got this right-wing populism versus 1990s style globalism.
According to the Pew Research Center, Trump's most ardent supporters believe that immigrants, quote, threaten traditional American customs and values, and also think that African Americans and Latinos becoming the majority in the U.S. will be bad for the country. The majority of his supporters also agree with his call for a temporary ban on Muslims coming into the U.S.
There's no secret or no coincidence that the elements of his message center around immigrants coming from Mexico or Latin America, who are now the largest minority group in this country. His anxiety about trade has nothing to do with the United States' relationship with the EU. He's specifically concerned about China. And these are things that are all tapping into these ancestral American anxieties around people of color and who is in the majority, who has the most power.
It is my honor to be able to throw Donald Trump over the top in the delegate count tonight. Congratulations, Dad, we love you!
It's Trump's nativist rhetoric, combined with other remarks he's made that have raised the question, is the Republican candidate increasing racial tensions in the U.S.? Remarks like when he kicked off his campaign by calling Mexicans rapists, or saying a Mexican-American judge was biased because of his ethnicity. And when he's encouraged violence against Black Lives Matter activists protesting at his rallies. And then there was the time the former leader of the Ku Klux Klan endorsed him, and he had to think about disavowing him.
It changes the goalposts, and it allows people to express things they wouldn't express because this very powerful figure has already talked about it.
You here legally, or you need to get deported? Guys like you are bringing our country down.
I thank God for the white man that settled this nation. I thank God for the Christian man.
Maybe Trump's going to have you build that wall.
Not even the dog whistle, the actual whistle that he sent out that has been heard by white supremacists and white nationalists. They didn't flock to Trump for no reason. They didn't just happen to decide that they were impressed by his supposed real estate acumen.
In America, made in USA, made in USA.
John, real good, man.
And build that for me.
This is what's frightening. It's the hate and the violence together.
This message of economic anxiety, this message of ethnic scapegoating, those two things being this confluence that provides a real spark for potential violence in American society. I don't think anybody can take that lightly.
Party officials have largely tried to avoid questions about Trump's divisive rhetoric, denouncing some of his remarks, but still standing by their candidate.
Rhetoric in the campaign, what that says to voters.
Why do you think the party leadership supports him? I'm certain that the Republican leadership, and the Republican Party, they don't want Donald Trump as a nominee, but they're so concerned about their power, okay, that they're putting the party over the country.
This is a really easy question. You're like future of the party. Give us an answer. Does it bother you when he uses the racist rhetoric?
They were largely silent throughout the convention when we tried to ask them about it. But others were more forthcoming about Trump, like Iowa Congressman Steve King, who had made headlines the first night of the convention by questioning what, quote, subgroup had contributed more to civilization than Western Europeans.
Charlie Pierce said that if you're an optimist, you can hope that this is the last Republican convention where angry white people have anything to say about the policy that comes out of this convention. Now, if he'd used any other color than white when he said angry white people, those other folks that happen to identify with those colors would be up in arms. And it's about time somebody stood up and defended white people. And so he was disparaging white people, and he was seeking to disempower, and I'm supposed to sit there and take it. Now, I believe in equality for everybody, including white people.
Do you feel like white people are losing power in the U.S. right now?
Well, yes, because that's the attack that's been coming in that way, and as long as they can gain, if they can bully and bluster their way through and intimidate, and if we don't all stand up for our individual rights.
The interesting thing about Donald Trump is that, he has been widely denounced by the Republican establishment, but he is in very many ways a product of that establishment. In a kind of low-octane way, the Republican Party has been trafficking in these sorts of anxieties for decades.
The establishment was saying you don't belong here for all these years, yet people worked here, they built this country, and he just took it to the next step and said, you so don't belong here that we're going to build a wall on the border.
The anxieties about affirmative action and white people losing out because unworthy black people are being given things that they don't deserve. And there's been this kind of drumbeat of resentment and targeting and scapegoating, and just within the lines of political propriety, just enough to kind of have plausible deniability about what it is that you're actually doing. Well, Donald Trump came along and decided that he would just be overt as opposed to covert.
As Trump took the stage on the last night of the convention to officially become the leader of the Republican Party and their nominee for president, all of his messages converged into one long diatribe on the state of the country and how he would save it.
Crime and violence that today afflicts our nation will soon, and I mean very soon, come to an end. Nearly 180,000 illegal immigrants with criminal records ordered deported from our country are tonight roaming free to threaten peaceful citizens. They are being released by the tens of thousands into our communities with no regard.
That blending of the idea that there are many threats from abroad, threats from within, there are threats that are surreptitious that you don't even know about.
Hillary Clinton is proposing mass amnesty, mass immigration, and mass lawlessness. Her plan will overwhelm your schools and hospitals, further reduce your jobs and wages.
Typically, we might hear that kind of demagoguery on, right-wing radio or on the conspiracy theory corners of the internet, but for that to have actually colonized the mainstream of American politics, it's happening on a level that we haven't seen before.
What's frightening is children hearing all of this. When they ban Muslims from entering the country or something that Donald Trump wants to happen, you think of children hearing this when he talks about building a wall on the southern border with Mexico, that Mexicans are rapists. And you think of children growing up in this country.
We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. God bless you and good night. I love you.
But he knows exactly what he's doing.